We've seen print statements and we've seen how to get information into the computer from the keyboard, either numbers or strings. But if that's all we could do, then programming would be pretty boring. What we're going to look at now is things called a selection statement. So far, we've been interested in sequences of statements. That's an important word, sequences. So, for example, print hello. It'd be a lot easier if I actually wrote it. Print hello. Print goodbye. Now each line is called a sequence, and we can continue these on forever. But there's a different kind of programming which, instead of doing line 1, line 2, line 3, can branch. It can jump over several lines and do whatever we want. And that's what we're going to look at now. So I think the easiest way of doing it would be to sort of get a couple of numbers and then check them out. So I'm going to write a small program to help you. So num equals input. Please enter a number. Very straightforward. So when we run the program, num is going to hold a number. Now we can check what that number is and decide where we're going to go in our programming based on what that number is. And we do it with a statement called if. You've seen this in Scratch. Well, let's take a look in Scratch. In Scratch there was two if statements, if it ever decides to run. Doesn't look like it will. There we go, that's better. So in Scratch we had what we call an if then statement and an if then else statement. And whatever was in here, so if it was a number, let's put it, if 2 equals 2, then it would do whatever is inside this block. It would wait 1 second. However, we've got a bigger statement here with an if, a then and an else. And I can do the same sort of thing. If 2 equaled 2, then we can wait 1 second, or we can move 10 steps. So if 2 equaled 2, we would wait 1 second. If 2 didn't equal 2, which it never does, we would move 10 steps. So this is the outline of an if statement, and we're going to write that in Python. So here's my if, and if that number is equal, now notice I've got 2 equal signs here now, and we need them every time or similar with an if statement. If the number is equal to 2, and we need the semicolon at the end of the line. Now this is important, because when we put the semicolon and the cursor is flashing, when we press enter, it will automatically indent. Don't try and place this back at the start of the line, that is fine. If the number is equal to 2, then we can just put out a print statement, print it was 2. I'm going to press enter again, and it's still indented. In other words, it's waiting for a sequence of statements. But if I finished, if I go back to Scratch, that was one statement. I could put another statement in there, and I could put another statement in there, and this is a sequence of statements. And I can do the same here. I can put a number in there, and it will do all of those if that is true, and it will do that one if it is false. And that is what I'm trying to do now. At the moment, I've got one statement in my if it's true, do this. If it's false, do this. And to do that, and again, let's take a look at the scratch. There we go, let's make it easier. The if and the else start at the same level, whereas the statements are indented, and we're going to match that exactly with Python. So if I go back to the start of the line, I can write an else statement and finish that with a colon. Got a colon there at the end of the if, got a colon there at the end of the else. And when I press enter, I can write another statement. It is different to 2. There we go. And then my program would continue after that, but I need to go back to the start of the line, otherwise it's like having several statements inside the else part. So if I didn't go back to the start of the line, it would be like putting several statements inside the else part, sorry. So now once it's decided which path to go, I can then come down, print my program is over. So that's a sequence of statements, and then I've got what we call an if-else block. So the first part is what happens if this statement here is true. So if the number is equal to 2, it's going to do this part. If it isn't equal to 2, so if num was 3, it would do this part, and then it would come down to the next line and continue on with the program. So it's either going to go here and then here, or it's going to jump over this line and do that line and then here. So we're changing the order of the programming statement. So I'm going to save that and run it, and we'll try and keep the program on the screen so you can see it. So we're here. Please enter a number. If I enter 2, it's going to check here whether num that I entered was equal to 2, and if it was, it's going to print it was 2 and then print my program is over. There we go. If I run the program again, this time if I enter a number that isn't 2, 3, it's going to check, is 3 equal to 2? No, it isn't. So it's going to do this part of the program. It's going to say it's different to 2 and then continue with the rest of the program. So there you go, it's different to 2, and then it's saying my program is over. So what can I do here? I mean, at the moment I've got this symbol which says if I'm equal to 2, but I can use the mathematical symbols that you've used in maths. I can use a greater than equal to 2. So if my number was greater or equal to 2, so if I typed 3 again, or 3 is greater than 2, so it's going to print this out, but that's going to be nonsense. I can just change that for it was greater or equal to 2. So if I run my program again, please enter a number, 3, it was greater or equal to 2. If it wasn't, then I can write it is less than 2. So if I enter a 1, it says, ooh, it really doesn't like that. I enter a 1, it says it is less than 2 and my program is over. So I can have greater than or equal to, I can have less than or equal to, greater than, less than. I can have not equal to 2, and that is with an exclamation mark. So if I typed in a number and it wasn't equal to 2, like 3 or anything else, it would always do this piece. So let's run that. Well, let's put a better message in. It is 2. It is not 2. 3. It is not 2. Run it again. 2. It is 2. The other symbols that I can use, at the moment I've used 2 symbols all the time. I've used is equal to with the equal sign. I've used what we call pling, the exclamation mark, is not equal to. I've used is greater than or equal to, and I've used is less than or equal to. And the other symbol I can use are just less than or greater than. I can't use a single equal sign. That will crash the program. I need 2 equal signs if I'm comparing. So if I run this, it's going to say, oh, you've made an error. There's a typing mistake in your program. That's because I've used a single equal sign. I need 2 of them. There we go. So I can check that out with numbers. We'll look at strings with this later and what the data type is. But for the moment, I want you to see how it's written, how it's laid out, and try to understand what is happening. Don't worry if you don't get it now. We'll cover this an awful lot in programming. This will be a major thing that we do.